My mom asked me who I wanted to marry. This time, I didn't choose Simon Hughes. Instead, I chose his younger uncle, Daniel Hughes. Her reaction was instant, her gaze sharp and full of disbelief, like I'd just slapped her across the face. After all, everyone in the city knew Simon and I were inseparable, practically joined at the hip since childhood. For 10 years, I'd chased him and made it clear I wouldn't marry anyone else. But that was the old me, the version of myself that no longer existed. A bitter smile tugged at my lips as memories of my past life, before I was reborn, flooded my mind. In that life, after Simon and I married, I came to a heartbreaking realization. He'd never once laid a finger on me. At first, I told myself it was personal, maybe it was just something he couldn't help. I made excuses for him and tried to convince myself it didn't matter. But then, on our golden wedding anniversary, I walked into a room I'd never seen before. It was locked away, hidden, and filled with photos of my cousin. That's when it hit me. It wasn't that Simon was asexual. He just didn't love me. Now, in this second life, I was done wasting time on someone who would never love me in return. I decided to let them be together, once and for all. But as I walked down the aisle toward Daniel, Simon's face turned pale, and he completely lost control. 3 days after my official engagement to Simon Hughes, I ran into him at a party. Naturally, his friends spotted me, and of course they couldn't resist. They were already laughing, clearly having a field day at my expense. "Simon, look who it is. Your little shadow is here again," one of them called out with a grin. "Bianca, you're already engaged to Simon, and yet you're still hanging around him? Shouldn't you be letting the poor guy enjoy his own party before you tie him down?" Another one chimed in. When Simon saw me, his annoyance was pretty much written all over his face. "Bianca," he spat, "are you really this desperate to get married to me? You didn't even bother getting my approval before locking down this engagement, and now the whole damn city's talking about it. You've got some nerve." His disgust hit me like a punch in the gut. I had to take a deep breath and steady myself before I said anything back. "It didn't need your approval. I'm not marrying you." The room burst into laughter. Simon's friends practically doubled over. They laughed so hard. Of course, they couldn't resist piling on. "Simon," one of them yelled, "better watch out. Your fiancé's about to pull another stunt to get your attention." Simon just shook his head, looking more and more annoyed. "Bianca, now you're trying to play hard to get?" I couldn't help but smirk. "With the Hughes family? If I'm not marrying you, who else will marry you?" He leaned in closer, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Let's not forget, you've been saying since we were kids that you'd marry me. The whole city already thinks you're mine." Then, he whispered, "I'll let this engagement slide, but don't forget, yeah, I can give you a big wedding, but the marriage license? That's only for the one I actually want to marry." I froze. In my past life, Simon had followed through with his family's plans at this exact moment, and we'd gotten our marriage registered. Could it be that he had been reborn, too? Before I could even process what was happening, my cousin Audrey appeared at the party. The moment she spotted me standing next to Simon, her face twisted in distress, and tears began to spill from her eyes. "Bianca, Simon, I heard you're getting married soon. I didn't bring a gift, but I wish you both all the happiness in the world," she stammered, her voice breaking every word. Before she could finish, Audrey turned and bolted, sobbing as she ran off. "Look at what you've done, Bianca," Simon muttered under his breath, giving me a furious glare before rushing after her without another word. When they came back, their fingers were locked together, tight as ever. Audrey's lips were swollen and red, and there was a hickey on Simon's neck. The whole room was watching, waiting to see what I'd do. In my previous life, if I saw another woman getting too close to Simon, I'd make a scene to make sure everyone knew I was still his. Simon stepped forward, positioning Audrey behind him like some kind of shield, his face wearing this weird, expectant expression. But I didn't give him the reaction he was clearly hoping for. Minutes passed, and his smug little face started to falter. Then, he sneered, "Well, look at that. At least you've grown up a little. No screaming or throwing a fit like you used to." I didn't even dignify his jab with a response. As the party wound down and we all started heading toward the door, Simon stopped me in my tracks. "It's late, and it's not safe. I'll give you a ride," he said. Since the ride was free and I wasn't about to walk home, I didn't argue. I climbed into the back seat, but Simon was faster than me. He blocked the front passenger seat and said, "You're sitting in the back." With that, he gently helped Audrey into the front seat, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I'm sorry, Bianca," Audrey said with feigned concern. "Simon's just being protective. He's afraid I'll get car sick." I didn't say anything. I just slid into the back seat, exactly where I'd planned to sit in the first place. The whole ride home was just Simon and Audrey talking and laughing like they were the only two people on the planet. At a red light, Audrey teased Simon, asking him to help her with some lip balm. They exchanged this look, and I swear, the tension in the air thickened. Suddenly, Simon whipped his head toward the rearview mirror like he'd just remembered I was in the car. When his eyes met mine, and I pointedly stared out the window, trying to ignore them, his expression faltered for a moment. For a moment, I saw raw anger flash across his face. Then, before I could even process it, he slammed his foot down on the gas pedal. When we pulled up to my place, Simon did something I really wasn't expecting. He grabbed my arm again. "All right, enough with the act," he said, his tone dismissive. "Don't pretend like you don't care. It's beneath you." With that, he shoved a bracelet into my hand. "This is your engagement gift from me," he added, his voice dripping with condescension. "As long as you stay in line, I'll throw you a wedding. At least, on paper, everyone will think you're my wife." I glanced up at him, locking eyes. "And who exactly are you planning to marry? Audrey?" Simon's face twisted with rage, but there was something almost smug underneath it, as if he was enjoying the chaos he was causing. "I knew it. You've been pretending the whole time," he sneered. "Listen up, don't you dare breathe a word of this to anyone in either of our families. My relationship with Audrey is none of your business. She's kind and fragile, nothing like your petty little schemes." His voice dropped low, almost a warning. "If you ever hurt her, don't think for a second second I'll still go through with this wedding. I couldn't help but laugh. He was too much of a coward to be honest with the Hughes family, yet somehow, I was the one painted as the villain in all of this. I didn't say another word. I just turned on my heel and walked into my apartment, the weight of it all pressing down on me. The moment I stepped through the door, my phone buzzed in my hand. It was a video from Audrey. I hesitated before opening it, but when I did, there they were, Simon, gently helping Audrey fasten a necklace around her neck. The brand was unmistakable. And then it hit me. The bracelet Simon had just given me was the freebie that came with that very necklace. They were so close, their necks almost touching. And then, as the camera zoomed in, they kissed. The sound of it pierced the silence of the car, sharp, intrusive, like a slap to my chest. Bianca, Simon must have told you by now, right? After the wedding, he's going to marry me legally. Just so you know, without a legal marriage, there's no inheritance rights. Guess it's my turn to become the richest woman in Evergreen City. Audrey, she'd been reborn too. It all clicked. Even though Simon and Audrey had no connection in our past life, this time, just days into it, they were already acting like a couple, doing all the things lovers do. It was as if they had an unspoken understanding, as if they were trying to pick up exactly where they left off. I lowered my gaze, memories of my past life flooding back. I thought about when I first married into the Hughes family. Right after the wedding, it felt like everything changed. The company started receiving a flood of partnership offers, landing new contracts left and right. Hughes Enterprises' assets skyrocketed, and before long, they had become the richest company in Los Angeles. The patriarch of the Hughes family was convinced I was the one bringing good fortune to Simon. Strangely enough, the family seemed to like me more and more with each passing day. They treated me like I was one of their own, like I truly belonged. Despite Simon's cold indifference, I honestly thought I was happy. That was until I found the photos. One afternoon, my mom came into my room with some surprising news. Daniel, Simon's younger uncle, is coming back from Europe in 5 days, she said. I froze, caught off guard. Daniel had never married in my past life, and I certainly didn't expect our arranged marriage to progress so quickly. I vaguely remembered Daniel. One thing was clear, though. He was always a good guy, almost like an older brother to me. Marrying him now felt like it would bring me more peace than tying the knot with anyone else. I wasn't sure why, but the thought of him felt right. The next morning, I was up early, working away in my studio on the design for my wedding dress. I'd been sketching out my dream wedding dress since college when I studied fashion design. But every design I came up with back then had to fit Simon's tastes. He wouldn't let me use any design elements I liked. Everything had to be for him. But now, I was free to design the dress I loved, the one I'd actually want to wear while marrying someone else. A few days later, I finished putting the final touches on my dress and decided to grab a coffee from the break room. That was when I saw Audrey's post on social media. In the photo, she was wearing my wedding dress, but it wasn't the gown I had envisioned. The gown was cut in half and turned into a super short skirt. To make matters worse, she was grinding against Simon, their bodies pressed so close as they danced. Simon knew I needed a dress, so he specially sent this one to me. Gosh, I feel so spoiled right now. I could hardly believe my eyes. My heart pounded in my chest as anger shot through me. Without a second thought, I stormed toward the 5th floor ballroom, furious and ready to blow up. There they were, Audrey and Simon, dancing like the world had disappeared around them. Their bodies were pressed tightly together, swaying with an intensity that made it feel like they were the only two people in the room. "This is my wedding dress," I shouted, unable to keep my fury in check. "How dare you give it to her and ruin it like this?" Audrey immediately launched into her act, playing the innocent, helpless girl, her eyes filled with fake tears, her voice quivering. "Simon, did I do something wrong? Why is she so angry?" she whined, acting all soft and fragile. Simon, of course, stepped in front of her, blocking me from her view like I was some sort of threat. "Bianca, it's just a dress," he sneered. "Besides, you're still going to wear it for me at the wedding, so what's the big deal? If it's that important to you, why not just make a new one?" My blood boiled. "Who says I'm wearing it for you?" I shot back, my voice colder than I meant it to be. "This is the dress I'm wearing for my wedding." Simon scoffed and shook his head like I was some naive child. "Come on, Bianca, don't act like you don't know. Your wedding is our wedding. I already agreed to marry you. There's no need to keep up this act." That was it. I was done. I glanced at the scissors lying on the nearby table, grabbed them, and walked straight toward Audrey's dress. Without hesitation, I sliced the hem of the fabric, cutting it near her leg. "Simon," I said, my voice cold and sharp, every word carrying weight, "since you're so sure of yourself, watch closely. I won't settle for anything dirty, and I won't keep the dress stained." Simon froze, his eyes wide with shock. In the past, no matter how I acted, whether playful or bratty, he'd never seen me like this. Never seen me so serious, so determined. His instincts kicked in, and he reached for me. But before he could make a move, Audrey's high-pitched voice sliced through the tension. "Simon, my leg. I think I scraped it. It really hurts, but don't worry about me. Go take care of her. This is all my fault." Simon hesitated for a moment, torn between me and Audrey. He looked from my retreating form to her, and then back at me. After a long, suffocating pause, he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "Don't worry about her. An insecure woman like her needs to be taught a lesson. Maybe this will help her reflect." I couldn't respond. My body went numb, and my heart felt like it had dropped into a void. I just stood there, watching as my wedding dress, the one I'd poured my heart into, began to fall apart in my hands. The delicate fabric unraveled, just like everything else in my life. I wiped my eyes quietly, trying to hold my emotions together, but the weight of everything I'd lost hit me like a freight train. All that effort, all that hope, was ruined in an instant. If a single wedding dress could teach me everything I needed to know about someone's character, then maybe I should consider myself lucky. After all, I was finally seeing Simon for who he really was, no delusions left. Tonight was the family dinner where I'd officially meet Daniel. First impressions were everything, and and I knew I had to look my best. I didn't want to give anyone the chance to question me, especially not after everything that had gone down with Simon and Audrey. I took a quick moment to freshen up and gave myself a little pep talk. When I felt ready, I headed down to the underground parking garage, and that's when I noticed it, Simon's Maserati, gently rocking back and forth in the distance. Curiosity gnawed at me as I walked closer, but when I got close enough to see inside the half-open window, my stomach twisted. There they were, Simon and Audrey. She was sprawled across his lap, her eyes half-lidded as she moved up and down. Even though I already knew Simon didn't love me, seeing it with my own eyes still hit like a punch to the chest. For a brief moment, our eyes met. There was a flash of panic in his gaze, but it was gone in a second, quickly replaced by that smirk of his. To tell me even more, he gently swept Audrey's hair aside and kissed her deeply, his movements slow and exaggerated. Audrey's soft whimpers echoed in the garage, loud and calculated. I turned away, trying to keep my face neutral, and climbed into my own car. I had more important things to focus on tonight. As I made my way to the Hughes family estate, I stopped by a store to grab a gift, a high-end silk tie for Daniel. When I arrived, I was surprised to find Simon pulling up at the same time. He stepped out of his car, and from where I stood, I could clearly see used condoms scattered across the passenger seat. Real classy. For a moment, his expression flickered with something like embarrassment when he saw me holding the gift bag, but that passed quickly, replaced by his usual smug look. Bought me a gift? He drawled, taking a step toward me. Let me see it. I jerked the bag behind my back, pulling it out of his reach. It's not for you, I said flatly. Simon snorted, blowing out a cloud of smoke like I wasn't even worth his time. You saw what happened in the garage, right? He said, his voice annoyingly casual. I know you're obsessed with me, but I've told you before, this wedding is yours, but the marriage certificate belongs to Audrey. She's the one who's being slighted here. He leaned in a little closer, his arrogance growing. It's perfectly normal for us to do what we just did. She's my legal wife-to-be, after all. Oh, and our marital home? She'll probably stop by once in a while for a night or two. You'll have to get used to it eventually. It's for your own good. I couldn't believe the audacity of this man. Even though I'd already decided I wouldn't marry him, I hadn't expected him to be so shameless, so blatant in flaunting his infidelity right in front of me. I turned to walk away, but, of course, he grabbed my arm again. Listen, he said, his voice lowering, my uncle will be at the dinner tonight. He's important to the family, so this is a big deal. I'm giving you a lot of face by letting you come. I barely suppressed the urge to roll my eyes. One more thing, if my grandfather and dad ask about the marriage license, just tell them we've already registered, alright? And about Audrey's little injury this afternoon, you'll need to apologize to her after dinner. Don't forget, until the wedding is official, I can still change my mind. With that, he strode into the Hughes family estate like he hadn't just made a complete fool of himself. I let out a long breath, gripping the gift bag in my hand. Fine, I told myself. He'll find out soon enough who I'm really marrying. Most of the Hughes family patriarchs were seated inside the dining hall. Daniel hadn't arrived yet, so I quietly slipped into a seat far from Simon, deliberately leaving an open spot next to me for him. Simon noticed immediately and frowned, a look of irritation crossing his face. Annoyed, he got up and moved to sit right next to me. You're getting more dramatic these days, he muttered, eyeing the empty seat beside me. There's already a seat saved for you over there. Why are you trying to make a scene? I ignored him just as I was about to tell him that the seat wasn't for him when a tall, commanding figure appeared at the entrance. Daniel entered the dining hall, his tailored designer suit fitting him perfectly. His strides were steady and confident, each movement radiating poise and dignity.